When he arrived on the scene, Officer Dukes immediately drew his gun and ordered 58-year-old disabled man Clarence Gaillard and his cousin Mario Julian, who were standing in the parking lot outside the townhouse, to the ground.
Hey, let me see your hands. Bert, get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground right here. Get on the ground. You, Burgundy shirt, get on the ground. Over here. On the ground. On the ground. Get on the ground. Do you not listen? Get on the ground.
Mr. Gaillard attempts to comply with Officer Dukes' orders by getting onto his hands and knees, but Officer Dukes forcefully uses his foot to attempt to force Mr. Gaillard all the way to the ground, causing his head to violently hit the pavement. In this situation, the severity of the crime at issue was limited at best, although Officer Dukes claimed to believe that Mr. Gaillard had a gun at the beginning of the interaction. However, at the time Officer Dukes used force against Mr. Gaillard, it was clear that he did not pose an immediate threat, as he had raised both of his empty hands above his head before getting on his hands and knees. Finally, Mr. Gaillard was not resisting arrest in any way. In fact, he was attempting to comply with Officer Dukes' commands when the force was employed. Under these circumstances, it is highly likely that a court would conclude that Officer Dukes' use of force against Mr. Gaillard was neither justified nor reasonable.
Is there a gun back there?
Ain't no gun.
By that truck.
Ain't no gun.
You're not listening, dude. Bro, you got a gun on you, man?
No, I ain't got no gun.
All right, I'm just
want
asking.
no gun. I don't
Turn
want
back over. Paul, do you watch him say? He had something.
I ain't want no gun.
The door's unlocked, it's not always so.
No, he was right here. Watch him. Go watch him. There it is.
I don't want no gun.
All right, that's what he had. All right, who's the complainant? All right, get him up.
Put your leg up.
25 city, got one tank.
Alright. Put your leg that way so you
I'm
can stand
confused.
up.
All right, listen, I'm about to help you. Hold on. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right.
Yep.
Listen.
Yep, they slammed my head
Listen.
down on the cement. Yep.
Go back inside. Go back in the house. Go back in the
Yep.
house. Ain't nobody talking to you.
I got head drummer.
Go back in the house.
Yep. Y'all bust my head down. Yeah, I've been in an accident. Yep. Y'all bust my head down. You threw me down.
I sure did.
And
You wasn't listening.
Yep. No, it ain't. You ain't to throw me down like that. I'm disability.
Okay.
I got head problem. Yep. You threw me down. Yep. You threw me down. You threw me down. Yep. You bust my head down on the cement. Yep. You bust my head.
All right, let me tell you what happened.
His forehead.
You bust my head down on the cement.
He was in front of the car when I came up. And he was walking like this. And I thought it was a gun at first. I said, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. I had him at gunpoint. And he's over here doing something like this.
You slammed my head. You slammed my
What
head
he was doing is
down
putting
in
this up behind the
cement.
tire. So he comes over right here. He got his hands in his pockets. I'm telling him, let me see your hands, let me see your hands, let me see your
Why you
hands.
bust my head then?
He wasn't listening.
No, it ain't.
He got the, like this right here,
You grabbed me.
and we went onto the
And
ground.
you bust my head.
Officer Dukes claims that when Mr. Gaillard was walking from behind the white vehicle, he believed that he had a gun and repeatedly told him to drop it. Officer Dukes also alleges that once Mr. Gaillard stepped in front of the vehicle, he had his hands in his pockets and repeatedly ignored requests to show his hands. However, the body cam footage shows that Mr. Gaillard actually had his hands above his head, and that while Officer Dukes repeatedly screamed at Mr. Gaillard to get on the ground, he never asked him to drop a gun or show his hands, likely because Mr. Gaillard's hands were visible throughout the encounter. An incident report filed by Corporal Brandy Smith, who was also on the scene, states that while Mr. Gaillard was walking from the passenger side of the vehicle, he appeared to have his hands in his pockets, but that once he reached the front of the vehicle, he took his hands out of his pockets. Corporal Smith's report also states that Officer Dukes was giving loud verbal commands for Mr. Gaillard to get on the ground, but makes no mention of a gun or any commands to drop a gun or show his hands. It's also important to note that when Officer Dukes was reporting what happened, he did not explain the method he used to take Mr. Gaillard down. Corporal Smith's report claimed that when Mr. Gaillard did not get completely on the ground, Officer Dukes pushed him to the ground by placing his right foot on the middle of Mr. Gaillard's back. However, the incident report filed by Sergeant Aquel Polidor states that Officer Dukes, quote, jumped up and stomped Mr. Gaillard on the back of his neck with his foot. Although it is unclear from the body camera footage whether Officer Dukes' foot landed on Mr. Gaillard's neck or upper back, it is certain that the version of events Officer Dukes explained to his commanding officer did not align with the body camera footage or the reports filed by his colleagues.
That's what on the cement. Because my forehead.
Yeah, your head did hit the cement.
Right, because you bust me down on the cement.
Where's the complainant?
You bust my head down on the cement.
Right here?
You bust my head. You bust my head.
Where's the complainant?
You bust my head down.
We're trying to get the name of the complainant.
You
So
bust my head.
What are we doing? Guess Sam was going to check him out.
Ain't nobody
There ain't nothing about here wanting to press charges on us.
Who called?
I'm not sure.
Take him out of cuffs right now. I mean, because that's what we
You're going to
got.
have to use it force.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
slam my head down.
Dude, I didn't know what his
You
intention
use
was.
the force. You need to look at the camera.
Alright. The officer did wrong. Slam my head down. Bust my forehead. Damn right. You gonna pay me for that shit.
you mind looking? Hi. Good, how are you? What's going on?
Officer slammed my forehead down in the cement.
Okay.
You were wrong for that.
Did you consciousness?
Yeah. Listen.
Can I get a card for me?
I don't have one now.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
We don't have.
What's your
They
badge
don't
number?
give us cards.
Okay, what's your badge number?
1059.
Let me see if I can get my phone. Hold on.
Hold on, we have cards. Okay. Thank you.
When Mr. Julian asks Officer Dukes for a business card, Officer Dukes claims they are not issued cards by their department. However, Sergeant Polidor immediately corrects Officer Dukes, states that they do have cards, and provides Mr. Julian with the information he requested. If it was concluded that Officer Dukes intentionally lied to Mr. Julian in an attempt to avoid accountability for his actions, it is possible that he could be convicted of 2 common law crimes under South Carolina law: obstruction of justice and official misconduct. In the 1997 case of State versus Lyles Gray, a court of appeals in South Carolina upheld convictions for both of these offenses against an officer in the Camden Police Department for her conduct during a criminal investigation, requiring that officers identify themselves. But the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety's policy is not publicly available, and it is unclear whether their policy adheres to any form of officer identification guidelines.
Yeah.
Brandon, he can get his stuff off the car.
Dukes, will you say badge number?
1059.
Okay.
After Mr. Gaillard was treated by EMS, he and Mr. Julian were allowed to leave. 2 days after the incident, Officer Dukes was fired from the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety for violating the department's use of force policies, which, as stated before, are not publicly available. On August 25, 2021, former Officer Dukes was charged with first-degree assault and battery, which could carry a sentence of up to 10 years in prison. As of the date of this episode, Mr. Gaillard is represented by an attorney, but he has not yet taken any legal action against Officer Dukes or the department.